Hello, my name is Maury Pace. I am the VVAS coordinator for the Virginia Department of Education. This video is to help you understand the Student Assessment Summary Report. The goal of the video is to support the basic understanding of the report while identifying the parts and also the actual performance trends that you will see within the report. At the end, if you have questions about your students' trends, please contact their school or designated division contact. To start our journey in understanding the Student Assessment Summary Report, let's review why you are receiving this report. The first thing is to learn about your students' performance on the Standards of Learning tests, the SOLs, over time and see trends that may be present in their performance history. This report will also allow families to see how their students compared to other students who took the same test in the state within the same year. Finally, it will be a reminder of your students' Standards of Learning SOL performance. You will see their performance level for each test inside of their testing history. To begin to understand the Student Assessment Summary Report, we will review 3 parts. What is on the report? What are the parts of the line graph, the key, the grade level, the state percentile? Also, what are the parts of the chart? The grade label, the state percentile, the performance level, and the SOL testing. Let's begin by looking what is on the report. The image on the screen is a sample report. It shows a line graph and a chart, which are the main features we will review today. The information in the first paragraph on the image contains the information on the possible SOLs that the students could have taken and be represented on the chart. As a reminder, the Standards of Learning for Virginia Public Schools establishes minimum expectations for what students should know and be able to do at the end of each grade or course in English, mathematics, science, and social studies, and other subjects. The first portion of the report we are going to look at is identifying the key. The subject area graph key identifies the subject area a course is designated. The subject areas include mathematics, reading, writing, science, and social studies. The subjects are represented on the line graph by a shape and color. If you have only been provided a black and white copy of your report, then you would be able to identify the line's subject areas by its shape. Mathematics is a blue diamond, reading is an orange circle, writing is a green square, science is a red triangle, and social studies is a purple plus symbol. The second portion we must identify on the line graph in order to understand what it is stating is what is the grade level in which the student took the SOL. On the bottom portion of the line graph, where it says grade, it says SOL and then has a number. That identifies the grade level the SOL test was completed. If the test was an end of course EOC test, it will have the testing window listed as F for fall or SP for spring. For the example on the screen pointed to by the blue arrow, it says SOL 7th parentheses SP. That means the student completed those 2 SOLs in 7th grade in the spring of their 7th grade year. To understand the line graph, we will need to understand the state percentile. The state percentile is represented on the graph in 1 through 99 on the axis that is labeled state percentile. What is a state percentile? It assigns rank to every student comparing their performance on a particular test during a particular year to the performance of every other student who also took that same test within that same year. For example, pointed by the blue arrow on the line graph, the mathematics test during their 4th grade year, that was the student's state percentile. It is not the student's score, and it is not the student's SOL score. To further explain the state percentile, we will use an example that is placed on this graph. The student in this example completed the mathematics SOL tests in 4th grade. The student's state percentile was a 63. If we look at the blue diamond represented on the graph, which is pointed out by the arrow and surrounded by the blue box, our conclusion can be that the student ranked higher than 63% of the other students who also took the same test with that student during their 4th grade year. Now we will begin to review the chart. There are several things that you will need to understand about the chart, and we will look at each one of those in the following slides. The grade label is identified in the same way on both the line graph and also the chart. If it states SOL 5th, as it does in the image on the screen that has the blue line connector, they both mean that the information is represented of the SOL test the student took during their 5th grade year. A student could have 2 areas for the same year represented on the line graph and in the chart, as identified in the boxes highlighted on both the line graph and the chart. This is because a student could have been in a block schedule, and so they may have 2 columns, one representing fall and one representing spring. Another reason why this could be the case is if a student took a regular SOL and then also took end of course SOL tests, which are identified as F, or spring, which is SP on the chart. The state percentile is easy to identify on the chart. If you want to know the exact number that was listed on the line graph, you can simply go to the chart for that same year and look to see what the percentile is. We can see that this student during 7th grade earned a 75th percentile ranking. Reminder, this number is not your student's scale score. This is also not the student's percentage score, but rather it is the student's comparison of all other students taking the same test within the same year. The last piece of information that is same on both the graph and the chart is the subject area. Notice the line drawing the image from the subject area key to the first column in the chart. That is how you can identify that the subject areas match. The new information on the chart that was not represented in the line graph is your student's performance level. What do the performance levels mean? Students could have earned a Fail Basic, a Pass Proficient, or a Pass Advanced. Pass Advanced and Pass Proficient mean that the student met or exceeded expectations. Fail Basic means the student did not meet the minimum expectations for proficiency on the test and would benefit from additional instruction. As you can see here, in the understanding of what the performance levels mean, the Pass Proficient is identified on the chart beneath the state percentile. The last piece of information to make sure you understand what you are looking at on the chart and within the line graph is to identify what is the specific test that was taken during the school year. For the examples that are on the screen, during the fourth grade, you can see that it says reading in the reading row. That means the student took the reading fourth grade SOL within that year. Likewise, if you look at sample 2, under the 7th grade year, it says EOC Algebra 1. We would know then that Algebra 1 was taken as a mathematics SOL within the spring of the 7th grade. We will now move into the portion which will help you identify what you should learn about the line graph, the chart, and the sample reports that will be represented at the elementary, the middle school, and the high school level. In general, when looking at the Student Assessment Summary Report, you should get an understanding of your student's unique historical performance on state tests that can help identify where additional supports may be needed or opportunities for acceleration may exist. This information, along with year-end grades and the SOL results from 2023 that you have or will have soon from your student's school, are a great place to start when engaging and partnering with your student's teacher and school about their education. In general, what should we learn while viewing the line graph? The line graph will show your student's state percentile for each completed SOL test. The graph summarizes how your student performed in comparison to other students across the state on the same test in a specific year. The line graph can show you trends in your student's SOL test performance at a point in time or a specific subject. Look to see if your student's state percentiles are showing an upward trend, a downward trend, or consistent over several years. In general, what should we learn while looking at the chart? The chart will show your student's state percentile, the student's SOL performance level for each completed test, and will also list the SOL's test name under each grade level. The performance level indicates if your student earned a passing or failing score. As a reminder, passing, pass proficient, and pass advance indicate your student met or exceeded expectations for proficiency on the test and demonstrated a level of mastery of the content. A failing performance level, fail, fail basic, or fail below basic, indicates your student did not meet the minimum expectations for proficiency on the test and would benefit from additional instruction. It is very important to identify your student's SOL performance level for each test while looking at the chart. Some basic background information on the samples we are about to review. The reports contain student performance results beginning with the 2015-2016 school year, if they were in school at that time, through the spring of the 22 SOL testing administration. This would mean that any test taken by your child after the spring of 22, which would include the summer of 22, the fall of 22, and the spring of 23, will not be included on this report. Here are some of the samples that we will review: a elementary school 5th grader, a middle school 8th grader, and a high school 12th grader. This is a sample elementary school report. What can you learn when looking at this report? We can see a consistent decrease in state percentiles in all subjects from 3rd to 4th grade. We can see those by the decreasing orange and blue lines, with the state percentiles representing in those 2 years from the 4th percentile to the 85th percentile. The student earned a passing score on the 3rd grade SOL test in math and reading and 4th grade social studies test. We can identify those as the SOL performance levels that have been highlighted in blue and green, blue representing past proficient and green representing past advanced. The student did not earn a passing score in their 4th grade SOL test in math and reading. Those are identified in this example as the red boxes that represent the fail basic or fail below basic performance level of the SOL. Again, if you have questions about your student's performance, you should contact their school or designated division contact. Let's see what we can learn about the middle school example. First, we can see that the student took more tests between 3rd grade and 7th grade. We can identify that their pandemic year was likely to be the 5th grade, as they do not have 5th grade SOLs listed on the line graph or in the chart. This student had a consistent state percentile level. They were between the 58th percentile and the 89th percentile, showing that they had consistency within their testing scores. The student has earned a passing score on all SOL tests. They have blue and green outlined in their performance levels to let us know that in both math and reading, they have passed all of the tests in which they have taken. Now we will look at a high school sample. There will be 2 pages for the high school sample, as there are many more tests in which to view. We can see in general this student has consistently scored at a high rate across the state for all tested grades and subjects, ranging from the 60th to the 99th percentile. We do see a decrease in math from 7th to 8th grade. While it may be hard to see the exact wording and numbers on this image, the goal here is to let you see that this student has earned a passing score on all SOL tests, as we can see represented by the green and the blue boxes surrounding the student's performance levels. The student has also earned many pass advanced scores in multiple different subjects, so showing that they may be excelling in multiple different subjects in school. This is represented by the green box. This sample does have a block scheduling represented, which is why there are 2 columns for 7th grade and 2 columns for 8th grade. This concludes our Understanding the Student Assessment Summary Report video. As a reminder, if you have questions about your students' trends, please contact their school or designated division contact. I hope this has been helpful and you now have a starting place to understand the report in which you have received.